one thing that was really hard for me at the beginning was I started this journey with social media and just started posting like non-alcoholic recipes or, I'm throwing a non-alcoholic party or things like that. And I got a lot of negativity on the internet. And that was really tough because we weren't making any money. No one was showing up to our events. It was the beginning stages. And so in those phases of like, it feels like the world is against you, you have to just have faith in your idea and know that this idea is supposed to exist.
Welcome back to Fearless Narrative, a show that's all about the incredible stories of women who are changing the game, breaking the rules, and pushing through the boundaries to face their fears head on because they are fearless entrepreneurs and creatives, and we love to see it. I am your host, Courtlyn Jones, and on our show, we go into a deep dive into captivating storytelling and engaging conversations with these incredible women as they share how they are pursuing their passions and shattering glass ceilings along the way. We love that so much. It's so inspiring and so empowering to share these stories with you. And hopefully it will empower you to embrace your own fearless path. Our show is all about feeling the fear and doing it anyway, as well as women supporting women. We love that. We need more of that always. So before we get started, don't forget to hit the button to subscribe to our show. We also would love a nice 5-star review at the end. Without further ado, let's go into a new episode right now. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to Fearless Narratives. I am your host, Courtlyn Jones, and joining us today is Elizabeth Gascoigne, the visionary founder of Absence of Proof, a trailblazing non-alcoholic beverage company. Elizabeth's journey into the world of alcohol-free living began in 2022 after realizing the impact alcohol had on her own well-being. Embracing the sober curious movement, she embarked on a mission to transform nightlife, creating vibrant experiences centered around booze-free celebrations. Elizabeth, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay, my pleasure. Your journey led to the creation of Absence of Proof. Can you share the moment or realization that marked the beginning of your journey to committing to an alcohol-free lifestyle and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, absolutely. So my kind of sobriety journey began when I was very young. I was definitely like a high school partier, sneaking out, doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And I hit a point when I was about 18 or 19 when I was just looking at the life outcomes that I created for myself, and they were not what I had always imagined would happen. I was not surrounding myself with the best of influences. I was not getting into colleges that I wanted to go to. There was all of these things that were happening that were really just the consequences of the decisions that I had chosen to make throughout my teenage years. And I kind of had this moment with myself of realizing that if I continued down this path, my life would look the same at 25 as it did at 19. And that was not something that I was willing to accept. So while I didn't know exactly what was wrong in my life, while there was several things that I had yet to deal with, I think that alcohol and drugs were definitely not helpful. And so I completely removed alcohol and drinking from my life when I think it was 18, but it might have been early 19. And then I was completely sober for 3 years. And unsurprisingly, in those 3 years, life got exponentially better. And I really saw the benefits of having an alcohol-free lifestyle. That said, when I was in my early 20s, I had always kind of thought that alcohol was a significant part of your 20s and had to be, or else you weren't going to fully experience your young adulthood. And so I reincorporated alcohol. And while it wasn't as destructive as it was in my teenage years, it also was not beneficial. And so about 2 years ago now, I was like, this is just not it. Like, I know how good I can feel without alcohol, and I know how terrible I feel now. So like the math is not hard. Like, let's just remove it again. And yeah, I mean, best decision ever. And then from there, that's when the company really started to come into formulation because I lived in New York and still do. And while New York is absolutely incredible, it is highly alcohol centric and everything you do revolves around alcohol. So I was literally Googling like alcohol free bars. I'm like, New York has everything. How do they not have an alcohol free bar? And I just felt like, you know what, like you have to be the change that you want to see. Like, so I just started throwing alcohol free parties, and about a year and a half later, here we are.
I love that so much. I actually stopped drinking alcohol. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say like 2 years ago. It's much better without. I definitely will go with you on that.
Yes.
it hasn't been really that hard of a choice to, not have it, but it's just been, being in New York City, as you said, it's alcohol everywhere. It's just like the whole part of your life. It's like our social being. It has to be alcohol. And
Mhm.
it can be really depressing to not feel like you're having fun without the alcohol because everyone else is having it but you. But it's just like, I hate the way that I feel when I have it afterwards. And I hate how I don't have control over my body anymore. I hate that feeling. So I'm really proud of you for creating what you did because I think it's really important and super, super helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I agree. I just think that for me, the way that I was acting when I was drinking was not who I am. And that was
Mm-hmm.
a really scary feeling, was like, I would never say that. Like I would never say that. So like, what is alcohol doing that's making me say that? Like these aren't even things that I believe, or coming across in a way that I'm not proud of. And no amount of temporary fun is worth, I think, long-term relationships. So
Definitely. Creating a non-alcoholic pop-up bar is a unique endeavor. How did you go about crafting an atmosphere that mirrors the quintessential New York City lifestyle without alcohol? And what challenges did you face in the process? That was a mouthful. Ooh.
yeah, no, I think it's a great question, and it's definitely changed over the course of the year that I've been doing this, because when I first started, I really wanted a one-to-one comparison. I wanted to say, I want you to walk in and I want this to feel like a bar. The only difference is that there is no alcohol. And I think that is so fun. And we did like a 2-month residency at a speakeasy, which was beautiful and amazing. But also, your average consumer of non-alcoholic cocktails is not the same consumer that is going to the bar at 2 a.m. And so you don't actually want to create a one-to-one experience. You want to cater the experience to what that customer wants. And so I just started learning, like, who are the people that are coming to my events and what do they like to do. And that's when I really uncovered that there's a lot of overlap between your typical wellness person who goes to yoga and wakes up early and runs and all of these things, and also the consumer who likes non-alcoholic cocktails. And so we started to kind of shift some of our events into more of the wellness scene. So we do yoga classes, we do sound baths, we do all of that. And those are always huge hits with our community because that's what they would be doing anyway. So that's been a huge learning for me. And I think that as we continue, I think that the initial like fad or newness has kind of worn off. And so the challenge for us is, how do we continue to make engaging events that people show up to, that are not just non-alcoholic cocktails, but are a complete experience.
Amazing. I'm not sure where I saw this from. I think I found it probably in one of your other interviews, but you mentioned the otherness that comes with not drinking alcohol. How do you envision absence of proof contributing to shifting societal perceptions and normalizing not drinking as a valid and vibrant choice?
Yeah, I think it's so funny because when you come to an absence of proof party, the otherness feeling is felt by those who drink, which is, so interesting to shift the table. And that's something that we've worked on not having, is that we want everyone to feel included. We don't judge anyone for drinking. Most of my friends drink, my partner drinks, etc. But I do think that having a social place where not drinking is the default versus drinking is the default, does challenge those norms and kind of reduces the stigma on being an outsider if you are not drinking, because this is a place where you go where that's just the norm. And so what's interesting is that a lot of folks come to our events thinking that we're going to talk about sobriety, or, the only thing you talk about with people is how long have you not drank for? And the reality is no one's talking about that. They're just having a great time and alcohol happens to not be there. And so that's what we really try to encourage, is that this is a night off of drinking, whether that is for a lifetime, 2 years, like you said, whatever it is, you're welcome here. So
I love that. I never drank until I was 21. I waited to my actual age to be legal because I was
that's
like,
amazing. Good
yeah,
for
because I was a
you.
loser. Thank you. But I felt, out of place, obviously, and being in school and like having all my friends and never drinking and stuff. Like not all my friends, but a few friends did. And in college too. But I think the first time that I was at a party where my best friend was drinking and I wasn't, and I realized like how loud she was when she started drinking, and how loud everyone was, and became more like obnoxious. And I was like, I don't like this at all. And I really hated it because I was the only one there who was sober. So obviously it's louder and more obnoxious in my eyes. When I started to drink, my first alcoholic drink was apple martini, super disgusting. I couldn't handle it. It was like alcohol. It tasted like actual alcohol for like, wounds and stuff. Really gross. And it wasn't until I guess 23 or 24, maybe, when I started to really get more into drinking, that I realized that like we're all obnoxious and loud. Because I am the one that's drinking too, so I'm a part of this, like
Hmm.
what I found annoying. And in the moment, it doesn't bother you, but like when I am sober, I realize I don't like being that way. I just prefer that I like me better when I'm not a part of it.
Totally. I know, exactly. And it's an individual journey. That's kind of like what we say. It's like, we're not here to tell you that this is good or bad. I'm just here to share my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not served me. So
Yep. So manifestation played a huge role in your entrepreneurial journey, which I love because I love also manifestation. Can you delve into the world? No, can you delve into how your belief influenced the creation and growth of Absence of Proof from the initial concept to its thriving community today?
yeah, I think with the big thing for me with manifestation is it's less about you see it and then it comes into fruition. I think it really is about that inspired action, which is the link between the idea that you have and the idea coming to the world. And so I think the biggest thing for me with manifestation is like my default viewpoint is I can do something versus my default viewpoint being I can't do something. And I think I spent a lot of my life thinking of excuses or reasons why I couldn't do something. And manifestation and that whole practice has taught me that like your default should be that you can do it. And that if obstacles come, like this thing is still meant to exist in the world. So those obstacles are just temporary roadblocks. And so just having faith in the idea that you're bringing to the world. I think that one thing that was really hard for me at the beginning was I started this journey with social media and just started posting like non-alcoholic recipes or I'm throwing a non-alcoholic party or things like that. And I got a lot of negativity on the internet. And that was really tough because we weren't making any money. No one was showing up to our events. Like, it was the beginning stages. And so in those phases of like, it feels like the world is against you, you have to just have faith in your idea and know that this idea is supposed to exist. And so I just like really had to stay true to my vision and knowing that this was going to bring a lot of good into the world. And I'm so glad I did because it's changed my life and I hope has had a positive impact on a lot of other people.
Incredible. I'm really like upset that that happened. I'm not surprised that others are not on the bandwagon for non-alcoholic beverages, but it just sucks that it was taken in such a negative way towards you and what you're doing when you're trying to do good in the world. But I'm glad you pushed through it and still going strong because that's brave. So good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that adversity builds strength. And yeah, and it's also like not the worst. Like I don't know. I feel like negativity really does prepare you for other things. Like someone random on the internet hurts a lot less than like an investor or a business pitch or like things like that. And so I think it's important to actively seek rejection. One of my friends says you should seek rejection one time per day,
Hmm.
because it means that you're putting yourself out there. So yeah, I think that's a good perspective on it.
That's awesome. I love that. We already mentioned how you do events. So the community has grown around your events. What kind of impact have you witnessed in this community? And how do you foster a sense of connection and celebration among those choosing a non-alcoholic lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's been a couple of things. One is for the folks who have already made the decision to remove alcohol from their lives. There really wasn't a space before that created fun social activities for them. And so I think that the feeling and the impact that I got from those folks was that they're just so grateful to have a space to be. It was the same reason that I was. It was like, I'm so bored, like, give me something to do. And so that's, I think, the impact for those people. But I think the bigger impact is really just showing people that you can have fun without alcohol. I think about like myself in my early teens, and that's when I really started to party. And one of the biggest reasons I started that journey was because I thought that that was cool, and I was obsessed with being cool, which at that age I think you are. And as I've gotten older, I care way less about that. But I think one of the goals with Absence of Proof is like if you can make not drinking just as cool and glamorous and fun as drinking, then you might have a better chance as a teenager of being like, oh, well, like it's cool to not drink too. And so that's really what we're trying to, like, is my personal reason for the why behind all of this. Is like, I really want young people who may be heavily influenced by peer pressure to like look and see, oh, there's all these really cool people in New York that are partying sober. Like, I want to be like that. So that's the impact that I hope to have.
Did I see you doing a collaboration with Y7 Studio, or is that someone else? You
Yeah,
are.
yeah, I love them.
Okay, yeah, so I love them too. And I was going to the one in Park Slope. And I was trying to find new things to do just for my wellness. And I did find your company is doing a collab with them, which is really cool. So I'm not sure if it passed already, but or is it an ongoing thing or it passed? It passed.
It passed, but hopefully we'll do another one because it was really fun. The community was awesome. But yeah, we got to get you out to events.
Yes, please. Okay, so going from events to absence of proof, bottle shop reflects an evolution in meeting the community's needs. How do you curate the products offered in the bottle shop? And what considerations go into creating a selection that resonates with your audience?
Yeah. This all started with, well, one, my history is at Amazon. So I really understood that there was a very viable business in online e-commerce, particularly for grocery, which is the category that I lived or worked in before. But I think also like we kept getting these messages from folks in Michigan or Minnesota or places where Absence Approved did not have parties or communities. And they were like, hey, you need to come here. And at the time, I was only one person. So it was really hard for me to like service all these people that really wanted our community to come there. And so that was kind of the catalyst for the bottle shop was, okay, we can't be there, but like, here's all of the things that we serve at our events and we'll ship them straight to you so you can throw your own parties. And so that's been really fun.
I'm trying to find new ones, so I'm going to try yours out and see how that goes because I'm excited.
We sell so many different brands. I think that it's literally like it's such a personal preference. Like there are some non-alcoholic tequilas that people love, and then there's some that other people love and other people hate. So it's just all about personal preference. You just have to try a bunch of them.
Yeah, I did try one. I forgot what it was, but I had it. It was at an event that I went to for founders, and I was surprised that I still felt drunk, which I didn't think I would. But I felt like calm. It was like not. I felt calm, not drunk. I felt calm, and it was a nice zen feeling. It wasn't like like a dizzying like
Yeah,
how I feel with alcohol. So it was like the same kind of euphoria, but it felt safer, which is weird, but like I think on point.
totally.
Can you share some insights into the development process of absence of proof beverages and the key elements that make them stand out in the non-alcoholic market?
Yeah. So we don't produce our own formulation, but we resell everyone else. And so one thing that we'll do is like someone will reach out and say, hey, I'm having a wedding and I really want non-alcoholic, I want absence approved non-alcoholic cocktails there. And so what we'll do is we'll do custom menus for them where we create all of the recipes and then we send them all of the ingredients that we think will fit best. And so we work with Ritual Zero Proof, we work with Cut Above, we work with Spiritless and all of these different companies to really figure out the best formulation for that end customer. And so our job comes in with the recipes and then we use other people's products to actually make the drinks.
Okay. Okay, so absence of proof is not just about drink, it's also a lifestyle. How do you envision expanding the brand's impact beyond beverages, possibly influencing how people approach socializing and celebrating without alcohol?
Yeah, I mean, I think every day I think of something new that we can do, which makes it just such an exciting place to come to work. I just feel so lucky. I think the first thing is we want to expand our communities as to as many people as want to come to events as possible. And that means I think all major cities in the US and then eventually international. In terms of our e-commerce, I think that that's just like a big growth mechanism for us as a business. But we've also been starting to partner a lot with bars and restaurants and stadiums and kind of these traditionally alcohol centric place to just provide options. I think that, I started being very much like this needs to be completely alcohol free space, but we are more than happy to help a restaurant with their non-alcoholic selection. I think that that is a win because if someone goes to a restaurant and they otherwise wouldn't have had an option, maybe they feel left out. They're the ones with water while all their friends are drinking wine. Like we want to make sure that bar also has non-alcoholic wine. So that's kind of our next mission.
Got it. So I'm also curious to know more about your life prior to being an entrepreneur. Like who were you before you started into this new journey of yours?
Yeah. I mean, I think, gosh, there's so many ways that I could go with this. I think I was I was working at Amazon, which was an amazing experience for me and taught me all of the things that I needed to know to kind of go on to this entrepreneurial journey. But I think the feeling that I could describe was feeling stuck and just feeling like, I was put on this earth to do something and I don't feel like I'm living out what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was that kind of discomfort of being like, I think I'm meant for more. Like I had this feeling every day when I woke up where I was like, I'm meant for more than what I'm doing. But I just felt so stressed about finances and so stressed about like, well, you need to do like what on paper successful people do, which is work corporate and like all of these things. And I think it just took me getting really quiet and honest with myself and also just like really, excuse my language, but like really ballsy. Like I just had to be like, I'm gonna jump and I'll catch myself. If not, I'll move in with my parents again. Like, and then that's fine. And so yeah, I just took a lot of like risk. But I'm so happy that I did it because I like think about that person before I started Absence of Proof and I'm just like, oh, you have no idea like how good things are about to get. So yeah.
Can I ask you how you also got into manifestation?
Yeah, so funny. I actually grew up going to a church called the Center for Spiritual Living, and it is really about like I literally went to church and they taught manifestation. So it was really funny. Like that is it's so funny because my partner comes from a very religious family, and so he talks about his culture and all of that. And I was like, no, my culture like is the woo woo people. Like it is very like manifestation and crystals, and you know all of that is how I grew up, and so that's just what I grew up being taught. I think that with manifestation, I've really started to challenge my own beliefs around it because I really did used to think that all you had to do was think about something and decide that that's what's going to happen, and then it happened. And I think that you know, in recent years, I've really realized that like you are an active participation in whether or not, or an active participant in whether or not manifestations actually happen. Like, yes, you need to get your energy and your mind aligned to that vision, and you need to act as if you are already there. But you got to do the acting part. You know, you got to actually show up. Um, and I think that was the difference between all these things that I used to think in my head were going to happen that didn't, versus building a company which has actually existed now.
Amazing. I asked you that because my spiritual awakening kind of happened when I was it kind of tied in with alcohol in a sense because I think it happened in 2020, probably because you know we're all in isolation, and that's when I was like, I need a drink. I was like, it's quarantine, it's terrible. I need something. But I
Yeah.
didn't realize I had a tumor in my throat at the time, which I didn't know it was cancer. And I guess when I was drinking alcohol, I could feel the tumor in my thyroid like throbbing
Wow.
only when I had alcohol. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I knew I had a lump in my throat, but I didn't know it was cancer. So I was aware that there was a problem there, but I couldn't get it taken out until, you know, everything was calming down. So long story short, after I finally had, you know, realized it was cancer, I learned that, you know, alcohol and your thyroid, you know, they're not best friends. So yeah, it really isn't. So I was now making it worse by using alcohol to cope with my health. And then even now when I have alcohol, like it's like if I have like one or two in like a year or something, it throbs again. And
Wow.
it's almost as if it's like telling me like stop with alcohol. And also I realized during my spiritual learning that, you know, they always say that alcohol is what's the word? I don't want to say like demonic, but that's kind of what I also have heard. And
Hmm.
um they say that like it blocks your I'm not sure I'm going this.
Yeah,
It like
no, it's like an energy blocker. Yeah.
yes. So after I learned about my cancer, I started to like really get going to, you know, prayer and meditating and journaling, which is how I got into my awakening, where I started to feel my body more. I started to feel everything more. I couldn't numb the emotions. I couldn't, you know, have anything to make me feel better because I had to just deal with the emotions, deal with the fear, deal with the anxiety, and it was really, really painful. And I think the first year, 2021, was probably the hardest year I've gone through because of just like the alcohol. I understand why alcohol is like why those turn to it for comfort or to numb things. But I feel like once you feel it and you can release all of your emotions and fears by being sober, it allows for much deeper healing than I could ever even imagine.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, wow, I'm so sorry that you went through that. That's a lot. And thank you for sharing that with me. I think that you're completely right in that healing requires your body to be in a state of rest. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that when you're constantly literally consuming poison, which is what alcohol is, it doesn't allow your body to heal and rest. And so I
Mm-hmm.
even like emotionally heal. And I think that that was something that I experienced. You know, I had a lot of trauma and a lot of things that I needed to work through as a young adult. And it was much easier for me to not deal with those and do things like alcohol and drugs that would really like postpone that feeling. But it always is postponed. You know, you're never actually healing it. And it wasn't until I got sober for the first time when I was like, oh my God, there's a lot here that we need to work through. But that it didn't, I didn't start working through that until my body was like at peace and at rest and clear minded. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that it totally makes sense why people turn to alcohol and drugs during hard times. And there's no judgment around that. I just think that it's not actually effective in the healing process.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, bonus question. I want to know the last time that you felt fearless, a time when you were afraid, but you did it anyway. And then how did it turn out?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably my partnership with the New York Mets this past summer. It was something that was so much larger than I felt like I was capable of doing. And it was such an example of manifestation because it came out of nowhere. Like I literally got a DM and then my life changed. And so um, I don't have I have no like logical way to understand how that happened, except for that I had two options when that opportunity came. I could say yes or I could say no. And I was petrified because I was like, I'm working with like really legit people and I feel so not legit. Um, but I was like, there's no way that I'm going to let myself miss this opportunity. And so we did it. And, they were so supportive and so amazing. And I'm just so grateful for that entire organization. And I'm also just like I showed up, and like I pulled it off. And I think now we're so prepared for the next activation that comes with someone of that scale. I just learned so much, and that happens every single time. I think that if you're not scared, then your dreams are not big enough. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Perfect answer. Okay, so looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the future of Absence of Proof? And how do you hope to shape the conversation around non alcoholic living and the broader wellness movement?
Yeah, I mean, my aspirations for absence of proof is that it becomes like a household name. I hope that folks who even are not sober curious kind of know that this is an option. I just hope that we reach a lot of people and build community in a lot of different places. And I also do think that like there's a lot of people that identify as being wellness oriented or liking, they go to Soul Cycle or all of these things, and yet they're binge drinking on the weekends. And I hope that there's just more dialogue around what alcohol is actually doing to your body. There's a podcast that I love called Huberman Lab. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he really changed my perspective on a lot because he's a neuroscientist and he doesn't talk about alcohol in a judgmental, you should or shouldn't do this, or even really a behavioral thing, like it makes you act in ways you wouldn't want to be acting. But he just talks about what it does to your body. And I think that if people had a real understanding of what it's doing to your body, a lot less people would drink to the level that they do. And so I just think that access to education around that is going to be huge. And so, yeah, I just hope I personally believe that the world would be a little bit better of a place if people didn't drink as much. I think that's like maybe a little judgmental, but I've just seen alcohol be really, really ugly. So yeah, I just think people should be educated around what it's doing to your body and what it's doing to the way that you're acting.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so is there any advice for the audience to share with them today?
Um, I would say if you feel like you're meant for something bigger than what you're currently doing, don't push that voice down. It's a scary voice sometimes because it means that you're going to have to change your life to meet it. But listen to that because you've only, I believe that you only have one life, and you want to spend it doing something or at least trying to do something that you feel like you're meant to do. So listen to that voice and try to make something happen.
That. And then lastly, how can our audience find you?
Absence of proof on social media. You can join our email list, come to events. We would love to see you. Yeah, and then if you want to order any non-alcoholic products, it's absenceofproof.shop.
Thank you for joining me today. You have been so fun, and I love talking to you, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. This was so fun. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Bye. And that is a wrap. Fearless Narratives airs every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday. Thank you for joining us today. You have been an amazing audience, and we really love your support. So we also would love for you to give us a nice 5-star review. And until next time, stay fearless.